Well, good day to you. It is March the 23rd. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. My name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome you to Search for Signs. And as I always like to do, point out if you're new, remind you if you've heard these videos before, that if you have any questions after listening to these videos, if you want to see if there's any truth to what I'm saying, the best thing to do is to investigate this information for yourself. Read more about it. Then and only then will you know if there's any truth to this. So look into the description portion of these videos. There are links there that take you to websites that talk about this information in some way. Whether it's directly about Maitreya, why he's here, why is it important that he and these masters are coming back into the everyday world, what it means for humanity, that kind of stuff. Or there are other websites that are connected to this information indirectly. So if you spend any time on the internet, you don't have to investigate this to know that what I'm saying is true. You just don't know who is talking to you on the internet. You don't know if they're telling you the truth. You don't know if they're lying to you outright. You don't know if they got your back. You don't know if they're trying to take money from you and cheat you. You don't know anything. You don't know what's up, down, right, left, if you just take somebody at their word. And this is mainstream media to independent media to just a regular vlogger. You just don't know. The only way that we're ever going to survive this minefield, right, is to investigate things for ourselves. Take it a few steps further and look into it. And then you can see if there's any truth to it. Because you might look into this information and say there's no truth to it. And I'm fine with that and totally cool with that. But you might look into this information in March of 2023 and go, no, there's no truth to it. And then put it aside and think about it a little bit here or there, or not think about it at all. Come back at it a few months later and go, yeah, there might be something to this. And that's what happened to me. Because when I first read this information, I didn't have the internet. I read it in a book, Maitreya's Mission, Volume 2. I didn't think there was anything to this. And it took me months and to start to think that there might be something to it. And then I still wasn't sure. And that was okay, but I still wanted to learn more about it and stuff like this. So that's why I always encourage everyone, whether it's this information or other information, to definitely take it a step further, or you will find yourself in a tornado of toxicity, because it's only going to get worse, because you got all these different opinions talking about something that seems pretty obvious. Is the earth a globe or is it flat now? I mean, you got both sides to it now. It's everywhere, right? On everything. And so if you don't take that time to do it, man, you're not going to have any peace in life for sure, Now, the other thing I was going to tell you too is that like I said, there's some websites that talk about Maitreya directly, but there's other ones that talk about it indirectly. So, for instance, I mention and talk about the principle of sharing in nearly every video. I also cite from time to time historical evidence that what Maitreya is saying is true about without sharing there will be no justice, without justice there will be no peace, and without peace there will be no future. That is core and central to his teachings. Everything else is great, but that is the foundation of what he's talking about. And I cite it as historical evidence. Is that true? The Marshall Plan. And so I put in one of those links is a Wikipedia page that talks about the Marshall Plan, and I think it was the History Channel about the Marshall Plan. Now, they don't talk about it from this standpoint, but you can start to research this for yourself and at least ask yourself this question. The nations that participated in the Marshall Plan are listed in the Wikipedia page. Look through them. Have any of those nations attacked one another before the Marshall Plan took place? Look at that. And if you have to do some research to see if any of those nations attacked one another, you can look at it that way, right? And then ask yourself, have any of those nations gone to war with one another since? And a tree is known by its fruit. And if you want to know what's real and what isn't real, that is the best way to know if it's true. Jesus said it 2,000 years ago, still applies to today. So the teacher is important in this information, but the teachings of the teacher are vastly more important than what we're talking about in terms of who and what Maitreya is. So you don't have to believe what I'm saying is who Maitreya is. You might even think he's the worst possible person on the planet, but you can't take away the teachings of what he's saying. That is the measure of who he is. So that's why I always say, look into it, investigate it for yourself, educate yourself better, and then you'll know. Now, if you have any questions afterwards you want to get answered, I'll try to answer them as best I possibly can. Post your questions in the comments section. Email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. If you just want to say something about it, then post a comment. So people do that all the time. I really do appreciate it because it helps me to talk about something in the next video. But Zach Laney, who in the past has mentioned that he was the first person to comment, now he could say he's the first and only person. Now, this could be an indication that people are taking me seriously when I say, go and investigate this for yourself and get your own questions answered, right? Maybe that's what's going on, because I've been noticing that since I've been saying that, less and less people have been asking questions. So that would be amazing if that's the case. But I do love it when you ask questions because, like I said, it does help me to talk about something in the next video. All right, Zach, what you have to ask me? I'm getting into crypto, and I keep thinking about how they say the disciples of Christ are creating the new economy. Now, before I go any further, who's they, Zach? If you're listening to this, I want an answer to that. Not sure if you've looked into crypto, but essentially they are decentralized digital money currencies that use computer programs and math to solve past problems of economics. The leaders in crypto have a religious fervor and intelligence, don't they ever, that make me believe they are outstanding humans. It's a deep subject. Real deep subject? Is that what you're saying? It's a deep subject because cryptos are different from each other as much as they all are from fiat cash. Anyways, I'm wondering what you think, Gary. Much blessings to you. And much blessings back to you there, Mr. Zachy. Have I looked into crypto? Yes, I actually, I'll be transparent. I do own some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some other cryptocurrencies. And I am into crypto. I don't like talking about it on this channel because I'm not an investment advisor. But truth be told, when I started doing these videos, I used to mock those same guys with, what'd you say, where you said with religious fervor and intelligence? Because they would always say, well, I'm not an investment advisor. Do your own research. This is for entertainment purposes only. That's what they said in every video because they only get sued if the price goes down, right? And I used to say that jokingly, but I was kind of mimicking them and mocking them. And I would say, you know, I'm not a spiritual advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own investigation. But anyway, but yes, I've looked into crypto and I know all about it. Do I think that Bitcoin is going to be the end all and be all of money exchange and solve all the problems and ills of the world? No. Do I think it's a stored unit of value? Maybe. Do I think it's a medium of exchange and will be in the future? I don't know. It just depends on what everybody agrees upon, because that's all currency is, right? What separates a Picasso that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars from a kindergartner's painting and drawing that looks almost exactly like a Picasso, at least later in his life, is agreement. It's what they agree upon the value to be. But there is no inherent value in any money, right? So anyway, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you can see that with the dollar, right? So it is what it is. Now, if you were to ask Gary, he would have a different answer, I'm sure, than Benjamin Creme. And I'm not trying to put words in Ben's mouth, but I spent some time with him. I've read a lot of his books that if you asked him about Bitcoin, if he was alive, he would have a different answer than me, for sure. Because I don't agree with everything that Ben said, and I didn't follow everything that he said either, right? Now, it's funny. I'll just say this as a little side note of humor, right? But I've been putting these videos up for a while. And I have had, from time to time, people who I knew years ago through Share International that I haven't seen in a while will tell me, hey, you know, I caught a few of your videos. I don't agree with everything you have to say, though. And it always makes me laugh because I'm like, and? I mean, I'm not expecting anybody to agree 100% with what I have to say, but why did you have to say that, right? Imagine if we all said that to one another. Oh, man, it's really good to see you. I don't agree with everything you have to say, but it's really good to see you, right? So anyway, but did I agree with everything that Benjamin Crane had to say? No. But do I respect his opinion more than mine? Probably. You know what I'm saying? He would probably say, and I'm just putting words in his mouth, that Bitcoin is more of the same. It's all a part of the same system. It's not different from that. And it's not going to solve the problems of the world. It's not going to bring about peace. It's not going to do anything. Is it more transparent than what's going on today in terms of finances and money and central banks? Absolutely, right? Do I think it's a little fairer than those? Absolutely, because the central banks can't manipulate, but the markets can. And you can see it in the value of it going up and down and all that kind of stuff, and bots getting involved and all that stuff too. So it is what it is. And the thing that I asked Ben when I was with him personally is I said, there's no way around it. You know, when you live in the United States, or you live in, I guess in any country, but I'm just talking about living in the United States, it's such a capitalistic country. You can't get away from capitalism. If I work for a company, I'm supporting capitalism. If I go to the grocery store, I'm supporting capitalism. If I put gasoline in my car, I'm killing the environment. I mean, it's like if I put trash in a trash bag, where does it go? It goes into a landfill. You can't get around the problems of the world. We're all doing it, right? You know what I mean? That's what I was just saying. All the problems of the world are really showing humanity that we are all one, because we're all contributing to the problem right now. Eventually, we'll all be the solution to the problem, but right now we're all contributing to it. So what do you do? And he just looked at me and he gave me an answer I was not wanting. I was wanting more than this, but he looked at me and he smiled and he goes, it's all going to be okay, Gary, don't worry. But maybe that's what I needed to hear. But like I said, I don't think cryptocurrencies in and of itself will solve any of the problems. The principle of sharing will. That will, at a stroke, eliminate hunger, abject poverty, bring trust amongst the nations almost overnight, according to the masters. And then it will start to reprioritize what's important, which is the people. You know, somebody who's commented before, his name is Ray, talked about I think from what I'm getting from what he's saying, his main concern about the principle of sharing is that there will be people that will not want to work, and that will cause a problem and not be sustainable. I think that's what he's saying, because that's, I think, the way I read it. Anyway, and there is some truth to what he's saying, you know what I'm saying? But the thing that I have to say about that, and the thing that I object to when it comes to that, because he's not the only one that's commented about that, is first and foremost is that the principle of sharing is not socialism, it's not communism, and it's not capitalism. So when somebody thinks that the principle of sharing is communism, that's not it. But that's the label that people will put on it, because that's all they have is the different ideologies. You know what I mean? So, but this is beyond an ideology. But anyway, the other thing I was going to say is the mainstream way of looking at socialism even is the problem is the poor, right? That's the way they put it. It's the poor that's going to cause the problem. They're not going to want to work, and this, that, and the other. Would you want to work for $7.25 at McDonald's, or $10 an hour, or whatever it is, and dealing with all the crap you have to deal with and all the angry customers for $10 an hour? Or would you rather just live off of welfare? I'd rather just live off of welfare, to be honest with you. I can't blame them for that. But what is causing the most destruction in the system? Is it them, or is it the people who can borrow off of $100 billion, and wreck the entire system based on speculation? Because neither of them are really working to help the people. They're just doing it for themselves. One is doing it for probably a few $100s a month off of food stamps and welfare. The other one's doing it for a few $100 million, or maybe a few $100 billion. Which is going to do more damage to my life, to other people's lives, to the system as a whole? I would say it's the very, very few rich people that are really doing the problem. They're just as complacent as those people who are sitting at home collecting a welfare check. If you really look at it, they are just as complacent as that. But yet, the system, the media, the people, in your life, everything will all look to and support those people who are on Wall Street, doing those things, or, those kind of, you know what I'm saying? They support those people, and then they blame the people who are on welfare as the real problem. That is an illusion, But yes, complacency is the single biggest problem in the world. The masters will tell you. That's the reason why we have hunger. That's the reason why we have poverty. It's complacency. All the resources are there. It's just sitting there. It's just nobody's willing to take a box of food and move it to another part of the world and give it to somebody. For whatever reason, that's where we're at. But I don't think necessarily, like I said, just to tie it up in a bow, I don't think Bitcoin in and of itself is going to do that. And I don't think Bitcoin in and of itself is outside the system that we have right now. I think it's all a part of the same system, and that system is dying. And if I didn't know anything about this information and I was just gathering it on my own intelligence on engage on what's going on in the world, I would say that we are headed right for a dead end, economically, politically. It's just, we're right there, bam. And there's no way outside it. That's what I'd be saying to myself. Now, what gives me hope and promise for the future is the fact that the principle of sharing is the answer to not running into a dead end. We just have to change direction a little bit. We don't have to continue to go on the way we're going on. But Maitreya would tell you, the principle of sharing is the only solution to solving the problems of the world. It's it. It's the only thing that will bring about oneness, the only way that we'll start to trust one another, the only way that we will be able to trust one another on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Everything will come from the principle of sharing. That will bring about trust, bring about justice, bring about peace, bring about joy, bring about a future for humanity. That's it. Everything else is not going to do it. Because if it hasn't done it by now, it will not do it by now. And I can't remember if I said this in this video or not, but this is the truth. If you want to know what the truth is about anything, about a person, about a system, about a policy that the government might have or whatever, is a tree is known by its fruit. That's what Jesus said 2,000 years ago. That still applies to everything today. And that's why I always tell you, investigate what Maitreya is saying is true and see if there's any truth to it. When I discovered for myself the truth of the principle of sharing, I don't stop talking about it now because I know that it's the only thing that's going to bring about peace. And it came from when I started to investigate the Marshall Plan. That's why I like to talk about it. So that's why it's there for you, to look into, to investigate it, to educate yourself. That's why I put those links in there. Anyway, enough plugging. Now, I wanted to segue, and thank you for the question, Zach. I really do appreciate it. I wanted to segue into an article that Benjamin Creme's master wrote entitled, The Coming Transformation. How apropos. Now, I wanted to say a couple things about this before I read it. First and foremost, I like to leave you with the thoughts. I don't like to comment about what he said afterwards. I'd rather you do your own inquiry into what he said. The best way to do that is to read it for yourself and not to hear me say it to you. So I encourage everyone to check out the Share International site. You can read these articles for yourself, maybe not this particular article. I'm reading this article from A Master Speaks, Volume 2. The other thing I want to say is that this is the best way to really understand who and what these masters are about, what their teachings will mean for humanity, even how they'll be teaching humanity is coming from his articles. They're quite a wonderful, simple way to read. But the thing that I will also say too, before I get into it, I know I'm talking a lot. When he talks about the coming transformation, you might be going, there is no way this is ever going to take place based on what I'm seeing today. And I have to say, I understand where you're coming from, but have faith, know that it will all be well. This is just a part of the plan. This is just a part of the process that we have to get to the other side. But the only way to get to where he's talking about the coming transformation, are you listening? The only way to get there is together. There is no other way than that. If you're a right-wing, very conservative, reactionary to everything, you have to be in the future along with the most progressive person in the world. If you're a Republican or a Democrat, guess what? We're going to all be living together. If you are rich, poor, we're all going to be living in the future together. We have to do it together. It's not going to just be one group of people over the other or whatever, right? So hopefully you'll listen to this all the way through because I found this article to be quite inspirational. From the depth of its present problems and sorrows, humanity will find hope. So much that is taking place is positive and auspicious for the race that men can be assured of an early lessening of their problems, not all at once, but gradually, little by little. Gradually, also, men will learn the true reason for their present anguish. They will come to understand that humanity is one, integral and related by long association and common ancestry, related too by its common divinity. No more need man fear and fight his neighbor. No longer need millions starve amidst plenty. Thus can be born a new time, a time when justice and sharing control the present chaos and irresponsibility. A time when men respect and care for one another, when the divinity of men becomes manifest and the secrets of life known. Sufficiency will replace abundance as the aim of sane men. Thus will men come into right relationship with each other and with the source of all. Under the inspiration and guidance of Maitreya and his group of men will blossom in their divinity and make that manifest in all they do. The abominations of war and terror will fast fade from their memory, and a vast creative progeny will take their place. Men will renew and beautify their cities, making them worthy of the new time. These will be greater in number and smaller in size. Linked by transport fast and noiseless, people will educate their children in many different ways, each child linked to the educational system as determined by their race. In time, the interchange between the masters and their race of men will grow in ever-increasing closeness, and children will move happily and logically from stage to stage in growing awareness. In all these measures, in this transformation, each one will play his part. Presently, there will appear a series of signs which will mystify those who experience them. No one will be able to explain this phenomenon, but it will presage a change in the thinking and understanding of men. From that time onwards, a sense of expectancy will grip most nations, which will prepare men for the extraordinary events that are to come. As you know, not all men take seriously the new time, which lies ahead for mankind. These happenings will prepare more for this revelation. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.